So I want to start the episode with Jabrik. So it's his time to meet Miona. She comes over, she gets off the flight, he lays out this little red carpet. He's got on his best little Easter pastel suit. He's got her little fuchsia boots ready to give to her and everything. And he's genuinely really excited to be with her. And I do see, when I saw them embrace, they're, always looking for body language, right? I did see that connection. They do seem to genuinely really to love each other. I think at least they exude that anyway with their body language. And when I looked at her, it was like, girl, you don't need all that makeup, because like she's coming off the flight, so she's not wearing all that makeup. And thankfully we got to see what she actually looks like. Now listen, we use makeup to enhance and correct and things like that, but her makeup makes her look like it looks like she's trying to go a little bit too far with another ethnicity. I prefer her to look the way she looks now, which is not bad. I mean, she looks fine. And she's like kind of a little bit of a thick girl too. And I was like, oh, you fit in just fine right here in America. You don't got to do all that Kim Kardashian, blackfishing with the makeup. That's just not necessary, right? So anyway, he gets on the phone with David, his buddy, and he's telling him about Miona coming. Now, David is not here for Miona. He does not like her. He thinks that she's basically just trying to, trap him because he's got all of this. Now, I don't know. First of all, I have no idea what a band that tours Europe like in a kind of subculture genre sort of style of music, I have no idea what kind of income that can generate. Now, I'm going to assume it's not that much because the kind of lifestyle that she wants, he can't provide. Yeah, she wants that high-end lifestyle, but I'm sure she would probably be okay with like a little, maybe a townhouse, little penthouse, townhouse downtown somewhere, just something that feels a little bit more city-like. I don't think he can afford that. He's at home saving money with his mom and dad, which is a smart thing, but maybe you need to do that for a couple of years before you bring her over and let her continue to live the lifestyle that she's living over there, so that by the time she comes over, you're ready to be able to have a down payment for a home or something like that. Because girlfriend looks like she is very high maintenance, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just, what she's used to, and he knew that when he met her too. But Jibri, he's very young, he's young and stupid. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Is she gonna like turn on her heels and go with the next best thing that's got a lot more money? Is she gonna be coming over here making friends real quick, and they're doing girls trips to LA and stuff like that? I mean, I kind of see something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. And we're going to see what's going to happen with his mom and her, because they're going to be having some kind of little heated conversation next week. So I'm there for that. Okay, so who do we have next? Next we have, let me check my notes here, people, because sometimes I can't remember all of these couples. Let's see. All right, okay, let's get into, what's her name? Eve. Okay, now this was really interesting because it's like, I was like almost falling asleep, I have to admit. And I was watching the show and I was really trying to, stay awake, because usually I watch the shows later on in the evening, and by that time I usually get up around 4 or 5 in the morning, so I'm just so exhausted by 9 o'clock. But boy, when I saw this Apache sister on there, I was like, okay, come through for the natives. All right, I was so happy. But at the same time, I was like, oh no, please do not embarrass us, okay? Because we had our first native lady on a dating show on Discovery Plus, on that Love Outdoors or Love in the Wild or something like that. I don't remember the name of it, with that lady who lived way out in the Mojave Desert. So this lady, she's also from the Southwest, and she was with her girls, and they looked like, I don't know if they were native or not, but they look native. So I'm just gonna assume for, the sake of conversation, that they're native. So it was just nice. I just wanted to pause for a second and be like, this is so nice to see native women, modern, dress modern, because we're not always, I do like historical clothing, I must say, but I still mix it with modern stuff, right? It's just like it's nice to see modern native women just doing their thing, drinking their drinks and stuff like that. And man, I was like, oh my God, this storyline is very interesting. So she has a son who has special needs, and this is not just special needs, like she is busy. she is busy. She was saying that she has to catheterize her son every 3 hours. I mean, that is a lot of work. So I don't know, if there's any additional family support in the situation or not, but it seems like she's doing most of it on her own. And, she's 48. Like, I mean, gosh, I was just like, wow, like, and at her age and like struggling with her son, I mean, she just has a lot on her plate. So it's understandable that you want to date, you want to have somebody, but again, you got to always be careful with moving people in with your children. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So she is in love with, is his name Muhammad, and he's like in his 20s or something, from Egypt. And I was like, oh my God. And now Muhammad, Muhammad is Muhammad, he sounds like he's, interested in her and everything like that. But, I'm more protective on her side because, she's got a son, who's vulnerable and stuff like that. So I'm more looking at it from that perspective, like, is he going to be okay in this environment and be safe? Is it going to be safe for her child and stuff like that? Those are the type of things that I think about when there are kids involved, So anyway, I noticed that she had on her Egyptian necklace. Now, I used to live in an Egyptian neighborhood back in Jersey City years ago, right? And I won't say it was an Egyptian neighborhood, but let's say the block, like the two, maybe within like a 1 mile radius of where I live, not even 10 blocks. It went beyond, it was like a good, at least within 1 mile radius. There's a very, very concentrated population of Egyptian folks that lived where I lived, and in my building, you were either from the Philippines or you were from Egypt, and we had like one person from Tunisia, but that was it. It was like Filipinos and Egyptians. It was so interesting, like especially like growing up as a kid, I grew up in this like small town, and like, we knew people from different cultures because our family was from the military, but we knew people from the military countries. So those were people from Germany and usually from either Japan or Korea, Philippines and stuff like that. So and one of my neighbors who was Egyptian kind of, familiarized me or kind of educated me about different aspects of Egyptian culture and stuff like that, and a lot of the local business owners were Egyptian. So it was so interesting, and you would see that they would rock those little Egyptian, it looks like the hieroglyphs you see, like, in the pyramids or something. People will do that with their names and things like that, and it's really cute. And I noticed she was wearing one of those, and I was like, oh, that's her boo, okay? Because like to be wearing one of those, first of all, I don't know where she got it. Did she get it here? Like, because where do you really get that here except like outside of Jersey City? Maybe she got it when she was in Egypt or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting. But what really, I mean, there's not so much to say yet because I don't really know this guy. I just feel like, sometimes, usually I do not promote the big age gap kind of thing, and sometimes it will seem hypocritical, some of the stuff I say. I don't even care, but because it's not always, what works for women doesn't always work for men, but at the end of the day, it really does come down to the individual. Now, I think it's okay for, people to date within a little bit, not too much younger, but this is like, what is she, like 20 years older than him or somewhere around that? I mean, if she's establishing her career and she's, apparently there's got to be a financial thing here, because if you're going to get somebody that much younger than you and you're the woman and the guy's that much younger, then, you financially have to be able to basically take on, when you're getting somebody younger, you're going to be taking on all the financial burden and stuff like that. So how is that going to be to have to take care of her son and then get someone so acclimated to this new culture, language? I mean, he sounds like he speaks some English, right? I'm sure that he speaks some English. But I don't know how fluent he is, and how is that dynamic going to be with her kid? So this is where I'm kind of like, like if she was just older and like her kids are grown out the house and she just wants a little young thing, and everybody's above board, of age, sound mind, legal, then all right, I guess. But when guys do it and then the woman is much younger, usually there's some factors in there that are very disturbing. But it can be with women too, but I just don't feel like that's the case with her. But So what struck me was that as she's sitting down with her girlfriends and they're having their cocktails and she's talking about all these things that he is not going to appreciate her wearing and stuff like that. This was crazy because, we do tend to insert ourselves into some of these situations like, oh, if that was me, or, or if you can relate to a person that's from a culture. So I'm just not used to Native folks being on reality shows, and the simple fact of the matter is that a lot of Native people, and I know she's Apache, and I've had Apache friends throughout the years, but I do not know exactly, and it depends. Are you White Mountain Apache? Are you Mescalero Apache? Is she enrolled? Is she not? I don't even know all those dynamics of her identity, but, a lot of tribes, not all, but a lot are matrifocal. So that's matrilineal, matriarchal, like everything is through the women's line. And also with those sort of systems, as well as my family, we are, from the Chickasaw people of Mississippi, not to be confused with people from Oklahoma, because we never walked the Trail of Tears. We always remained in our homeland. We are also a matriarchal people. So, when you deal with matriarchal cultures, when I tell people that come from patriarchal cultures, it's always so shocking to them, right? I'm like, yeah, the land, the clan, who you marry, a lot of that through certain tribes is determined through the mother's line. So, we grow up very differently, or for people who are from those tribes and grew up with that traditional aspect, because just because you come from that tribe does not mean that your family practices that. But for people who did, it makes you wonder, like, how do you deal with someone who comes from a patriarchal culture? Because in my family, the women just ran the show. The women were always the most educated. My great grandmother was the first one to go to college. So I'm fourth generation college graduate. In fact, that lady right there in the picture. So we are, educated for many generations down, and it's not like that the men don't get education either, but they just get education in different ways. So we don't just sit there and listen to someone that says, because you're a woman, X, Y, and Z, because the Bible says X. We don't come from that, so it's different. So I don't know if she's from a matriarchal culture or not. I know I'm going on a tangent, but listen, guys, we don't get Native people like this. So there's different layers that we have to kind of go into that we're just not used to seeing on mainstream television. So him coming from a patriarchal culture, and he's Muslim, and it sounds like he's a practicing Muslim. I just don't know how that's gonna work. I just can't imagine. I remember one time, years ago, I dated someone I was much younger, but I dated someone who was from Iraq, and he was from a Christian population within Iraqis. He wasn't Muslim. But the way that there were still cultural things that were still so overlapping with Muslim people in his society, that as an American, and especially as a Native woman, it just kind of seemed, I didn't see much difference between the Arab cult, because they don't consider themselves Arab because they're not Muslim. So I was like, well, but you're just as strict. You can't do this, you can't do that. The little girl's got to cover their hair. And I was like, it could not work out. That we dated, but that was not going anywhere, because I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to raise my kids how I want to raise them, and we're going to be free. And if a man can't control himself because God forbid, he sees a bit of my ankle, that's his problem, not mine, right? So I am just like, my mind is still spinning. I don't even know what to think of this. So, her girls are sitting there like, what's he gonna think about this? And are you gonna change who you are? Like, we're very strong women and stuff like that. So, even if she didn't come from a matriarchal tribe, a lot of Native women are strong. We are just strong women. It's strength in a different way. It's not necessarily strength by being loud or being aggressive, or by fighting, with our fists or something. Even though some of us do that too, right? But it's just so different. So I just have no idea what to think is going to happen. But all right, we'll see what's gonna happen with that. So okay, the next one I want to talk about is Guillermo, and is it Kala, or I don't know her name. You guys can leave it in the description box below. That one, honestly, I have to say, was kind of putting me to sleep. That was kind of boring. I mean, you know, maybe because they'll work out to be a successful couple, and you know, hopefully for them, I'd rather be bored and then being me be bored and they be a successful couple than something completely blowing up in their faces. But one thing I did notice about them, like I already mentioned last week, that his English is quite good. And her Spanish is quite good too. And I was really listening for a second. I was like, is she Latina? And then I was like, I don't think so. And then there was something that she had said in Spanish, because I speak Spanish too. So something where she had made she said something, she used the wrong gender for herself. So I was like, okay, well maybe she's not Latin, but her Spanish is good though. I mean, she seemed to be very comfortable and joke. Because you know, when people can joke and laugh in a language, then they're usually pretty good. So I'm like, how did her Spanish get that good? So we'll find out more about them. But yeah, his brother was kind of sad to see him leave and stuff like that. But you know, they had issues with immigration, but they were finally able to come in and stuff like that. She is a very pretty girl. I mean, a very pretty girl. So we'll see what happens with them. All right. So let me save the complete nonsense and foolishness for last. All right, Bilal. Oof, good Lord. All right, so Bilal, and I still do not know how to say her name. Is it Shida? Shida. I think it's Shida. Listen, I had to write that down somewhere. It's pronounced, I think it's Shida. Okay, I'm gonna call her Shida for now, and then I'll figure out how to say it next week. So anyway, okay, he's picked her up. She gets in this van. Next thing you know, she was like looking around at the van like, oh, I thought maybe you would have had one of those kind of cars over there. And then she notices that he puts her stuff kind of haphazardly in the van. And she was like, don't be putting my stuff in the trash like that. Get my stuff out, right? And like, he's not thinking. This whole scheme he has to fake her out with this fake house and get a work van is going so wrong so far, all right? Stupid idea. Absolutely dumb. All right, so now they get to the house and she is like, you know, and she's such a trendy girl, right? She's like, what is this dilapidated, she was, I mean, and you saw the ceilings were paint chips and cracks and stuff like that. And he's like, well, this is my childhood home. You saw the porch looked a mess and everything. And she was like, you know, you never told me about where you live, but I didn't expect it to be Sanford and Son. I was like, Sanford and Son. I said, oh, shit. I was like, so either they get American TV in Trinidad or she's been coming here to the States to know about Sanford and Son. I was like, my girl. So, you know, Sister Shida was not having it, honey. She was reading him up and down. She was like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the way you presented yourself. And I was like, you know, but on the other hand, that's your fault. You didn't demand more out of him. You know what I'm saying? You're sitting here just on a hope and a dream and a prayer to Allah that everything's going to be great when you get here, and you haven't even seen his domicile, like how he lives. She was like, well, you know, he was wearing the nice belt and the nice suit, so one would assume. And now, yes, that I understand, but once he gets back to his home and you guys are talking and you're in different countries, now you got to have him getting you on that FaceTime and following him around the neighborhood and get to see what it's like where he lives. Like the way he brought her, the way he thought that, you know, I'm going to give her this test, he played himself. Now, no matter what, if they wind up staying together, they don't. He played himself so bad. That will always be her first memory. It'll always be a negative chapter in their history that she came to America and she came to a dump. I don't give two goddams if that's where your great-great-grandmother, you know, had 16 kids and nursed them all. It doesn't make any difference. That is the dumbest goddamn thing I mean, we have seen some dumb shite on this show, but this was the stupidest. Like, are you serious? I mean, she was like, she was probably thinking like, oh my God, are the paint chips gonna fall? I mean, that's dangerous. I mean, that's an old house to leave like that. Who knows, there can be lead in that paint. That is absolutely, she was like, this is dilapidated. It's like, you tell him, sister, you tell him. So I was just like, sitting there thinking like, look at this woman. And what killed me was that she had on her best, like she had her makeup on. She looked really flawless coming out of, a flight, right? And coming straight from the airport. She looked great. So she's making this effort to look really good, and he's just making no effort. I thought to myself, something, I hope she leaves you before the season is done. I mean, it would be disappointing to not be able to see her on film, but you know what, being filmed, but you deserve to get left on camera. This was absolute foolishness. And see, this is what I'm talking about. These men out here that sit here and like, it's almost like an incel kind of mentality. Like, like you have some kind of anger towards women. So you gotta test them. You gotta really make sure, that she's down. Just because you come from unfortunate circumstances does not mean that you gotta go around testing the world. Once you make it out of that, which you did, now guess what? You enjoy and you live that life that you deserve and that you work so hard to get to, and you bring your woman into that situation. You started off bringing her to something, I mean, it looked like a trap house. Like, what the fuck is the matter with these people? I can't, listen, I've been trying not to swear, but today these people have just been taking me to a whole other level, okay? So, I mean, basically the episode ended with her just being like, I'm not trying to like be rude, but what is this? Right? And that's another thing too. You got to understand when you bring someone in from another culture, as Americans, we are known to be the culture that is, has nice stuff and stuff like that. Now, you may live in a meager, little, studio apartment or something like that, but you need to know how people think of the United States when they move here, okay? So you have to you have to be cognizant. I mean, like she said, this is a developed nation. Like, I'm not expecting them to come to this, right? She's probably, listen, and let me tell you something. I remember like when I was a teenager and I first started meeting people from the Caribbean, and it was just so fascinating to me, like, because in some ways they're very, like, they're a little bit more, because they're black. Well, I mean, some of them are mixed. Not all Caribbeans are black. And I don't know what her ethnic background is. It looks like she's at least part black. Okay. I don't know, whatever. Maybe we'll find that out later on. But, so when you're talking to Caribbeans that are black, it's like they're very open-minded about certain things, but then they can be very conservative about other things. And yes, it depends on, different islands. Not every island is the same, because some islands were, colonized by the French, some by the Dutch, some by the English, some by the Spanish. It depends on the language. There's so many different factors with Caribbeans, and it can be quite fascinating. And we don't typically get to see Caribbeans, especially Caribbeans that are from non-Spanish speaking countries on this show. So, and she's Muslim. We got to find out how she became Muslim. Was that through birth, or did she convert or anything like that? I mean, I am wildly fascinated with getting more on her background story, but I hope she comes here, she leaves his dusty ass and finds somebody else, okay? Girlfriend, just, like, enjoy. This is America. It's free. Like, just enjoy it and get with somebody that's going to treat you right. The way he did that, the way he tricked you in the beginning, he played you, all right? So he's full of games because he has a lot of issues. And, can you imagine with his OCD and all it? He claims to be so OCD, but I think that's BS. I think he was given that for the camera to show, oh, look how clean I am. I really like things. Oh, hold on. Let me move this mug. This is driving me crazy. I want to show you how clean and tidy and I am. That's a lie. That's a lie. Maybe he likes things clean, but he's saying, well, I might be OCD. Any person that's OCD could not spend one night in that house. And I don't get, childhood memories be damned, okay? An OCD person would be concerned, not just for themselves, but like how someone else is going to perceive this filth that you're bringing her into. And he was like, it's time for dinner. She was like, do you have a clean plate to eat on? I was like, that's right, girl. I hear you. Like, can you imagine your first day in America thinking you're going to come to, I'm not saying she's thinking, she's going to be in LA in Calabasas or something, but, I'm sure she thought it's going to be much nicer than that. I've never seen anything like this play out before on television. I'm also curious with the whole Muslim storyline as well, because my mom grew up in an atheist family, but her only two siblings decided to become Muslim like back in the 70s. So you have there's like my atheist mom, and I mean and because they were raised by their mom who's also atheist. So like we're not a religious family. I think it's in the blood. But then the two siblings became Muslim. So I got a very small peek into the American Muslim convert sort of life and culture and family. And let me tell you, my cousins, all my first cousins that are Muslim, I mean, those kids, they're very well behaved. I mean, they're very respectful kids, and they don't judge me because I am, because I'm not religious. I don't believe in anything, and I don't judge them because of their belief. They can't help how they were raised. That's just how it was, So it's interesting to see that, because usually we see Muslims on this show who are coming directly from the motherland or wherever, like Middle Eastern countries and stuff. So this is fascinating between the native lady. I am so happy we have a native person on the show, and this Caribbean girl that I am loving so far, but I'm not happy that she did not do her homework before she got to America. This is going to be interesting. So we'll see. The other couples, they're not as interesting right away for me at the moment. But, we'll take a look at them next week. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I kind of went off on a tangent. Thanks for hanging on in there with me. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. Please turn on your notification bell so you know when I'm putting out new videos. I am fooling and tinkering around back in my lab and trying to figure out how to go live. So maybe that'll be coming soon, so then we can really talk some mess, okay? So anyway, please stay safe, take care, and chipisa lacho. All right, that was good.